It's funny, all throughout the day I was thinking about how yesterday I said that one of these days I'll do my thoughts on historical roast. So basically, I told myself I was going to do that video today, right? No, I still am. It's just, all the other, what show did I say I was going to do? All right, historical roast. I think I've seen like every episode of that. There's only 6 episodes on Netflix, by the way. It's not like it's very many. Like probably 3 times each. And they're all funny. But let's get to my low, my high, my active kindness, because considering that, because believe it, a lot of the stuff I talk about is going to have, we'll all be interconnected. Okay, so, let's get my low, my high, my active. My low is I missed out on being with my folks last night because I was convinced that my mom was working, but she was off. I mean, that's a lack of communication, I swear. But my high is, I was able to think about what I was gonna talk about today a bit better. And my act of kindness was I did some stuff for my dad yesterday when I saw him. So that was nice. Good morning, happy Thursday, everyone. So let's talk about historical roast, shall we? Now, if you don't know what a roast is, it's been something that was originally founded by the Friars Club. They're like a group of like celebrity comedians and other celebrities, and they all get together and they honor a guy or a girl, or a man or a woman, and for charity. Basically, they are just made fun of to no end. Well, really, everyone who's up on the dais is made fun of to no end as well. But obviously, it's got to go for the man or woman of the hour. And the jokes at a roast, they get real raunchy. Like, whenever Comedy Central does a roast, it's easily one of the most viewed things on the channel because they're that funny. Like, Comedy Central's had roasts for, Dennis Leary, Flava Flav, Joan Rivers, Bob Saget, David Hasselhoff, Larry the Cable Guy. I want to say Jeff Foxworthy had one too. But my point is they've had like lots of roasts. And they've all been, actually Donald Trump was roasted too. And what else? Oh, that's all. Those are the only ones that I can personally think about. And obviously, they're funny. But one constant who's always in these roasts is a person who goes by the Roast Master General named Jeff Ross. We like Jeff Ross. Jeff Ross is very funny. Jeff Ross is one of my favorite comedians. I have lots of favorite comedians, so don't get that the wrong way. I have lots of love and respect for anyone involved in the craft, and when it comes to roasting, Jeff Ross is the best at it. So at some point, he came up with an idea of, because there's been a lot of famous people throughout history that would make for good ideas for having a roast. Hence the term historical roast were invented. Or the show Historical Roast was born, I should say. Now, there's only 6 episodes of the show on Netflix. And as far as I know, I don't think there's going to be a second season. Which is a real shame because the show was hilarious in every way. I loved it. I really, really did. The 6 episodes were Abraham Lincoln, Freddie Mercury, Anne Frank. I'll get to that one in a second because that one needs to be talked about a little bit. Martin Luther King Jr., Cleopatra, and Muhammad Ali, for a total of 6. So I guess I'll talk about highlights from each and every one. With Abraham Lincoln was played by the late Bob Saget, and John Wilkes Booth was played by John Stamos. That was funny. That was really funny. with Freddie Mercury, Nikki Glazer's Kurt Cobain, Seth Green is David Bowie, James Adonian is Freddie Mercury. You know, genius, all genius. Now I get to the Anne Frank one because that's the one that easily received the most controversy because, you know, it's Anne Frank, it's World War II, the Nazis, Germany, and a lot of people, particularly from the Anne Frank Historical Institute Museum place, because for those of you who don't know, Anne Frank was a person who lived in Germany. Well, she wasn't just a person. She was a little girl who, with her family and another family named the Van Pelts, and a dentist named Fritz, I forget his last name, but basically they were in hiding from the Nazis in Germany because they were of Jewish descent. And for over 2 years, they were hiding in an attic. You know, and they had to be quiet like all throughout the day, and they could only really do stuff at night. And, you know, actually, this episode shines some light on a few things I never even thought back, because I actually have read Anne Frank's diary. I had to do that in 8th grade. Well, a lot of us had to do that. Actually, I think they even made that into a play. I think they did. Anyway, actually, when I read in 8th grade, it was in the form of a play. But basically, she wrote a diary throughout her entire experience in the attic, and that became known as the Diary of Anne Frank. And it's one of the most celebrated works of literature in human history. And it still touches the hearts of millions to this very day. It's even sadder when her story technically doesn't have a happy ending, because she and the rest of her family did get captured by the Nazis, but thankfully she actually left her diary behind for someone to find later, which her father, having survived being in a Nazi concentration camp, did find. And he read the diary and like, wow, I gotta tell the world about all this. And thus we have the Diary of Anne Frank. In case anyone's wondering, or for those who don't know, weeks before, just not even 2 weeks before the concentration camp that Anne Frank was sent to was liberated, she died of a disease called typhus, which is very sad. So needless to say, she didn't get to live to see, you know, what would wind up being a story that touched the heart of millions. And this episode of Historical Roast got a lot of controversy just simply because it really was a sensitive subject. But personally, I thought they handled it very well. I mean, get this. Legendary late great comedian Don Rickles actually served in World War II. And his daughter actually got to play him in the roast. That's pretty cool. Not to mention, there were moments in that episode where they really did take the time to talk about how much of a serious issue this was. I thought it was handled very well. And they got a good cast of people. I mean, they got John Lovitz as FDR, Mindy Rickles as her dad, Don Rickles. But I think what got everyone on the fence and the controversy was just having Hitler on the dais at all. And there's actually a bit of a story regarding that, because Hitler was played by the late, great Gilbert Gottfried. For people of my generation, he was known as Iago in the Aladdin movies. And, well, first of all, it really is sad that Gilbert Gottfried is dead. But when Jeff Ross proposed the idea of trying to play Hitler in Historical Roast, Jeff Ross says, hey, listen, I have an idea. We're going to do a Historical Roast on Anne Frank. You want you to play Hit? And then Gilbert Gottfried said, Lur? I'll do it. So Gilbert Gottfried willingly did, and it makes sense, because Gilbert Gottfried is actually of Jewish descent, and guess what? Hitler was technically of Jewish descent too. Yeah, there was a lot of messed up, hypocritical things about the Nazis, trust me. But again, I really thought it was a fine episode. Honestly, I'll get to the episode I laughed at the least. Not that it wasn't funny, but it's like, so, Martin Luther King Jr., the dance they got was hilarious. It was Rosa Parks, um, Barack Obama, and they got Julia White, yes, Steve Urkel of Family Matters, to play Nelson Mandela. I'll get to him in a second because Julia White comes back again in this series. But yeah, I'll get to him in a second. The episode I think I laughed the least at, not that it wasn't funny, was Cleopatra. I mean, don't get me wrong, I actually really do like history. In fact, history wound up being a subject I was pretty decent at, when I was, in late elementary school, middle school, and high school. It's just Cleopatra was easily the person that, I learned or talked about the least in all those years. Although, fun fact, back when I was a freshman in high school, and I did talk about this in my class and session videos way back when, I actually did a project on Alexander the Great. And when Alexander the Great had passed, he wound up giving some of his land in Egypt to who would later be known as Cleopatra's ancestor. A couple dozen, I think like a couple hundred years later than Cleopatra was born, and then that's how you got Cleopatra. So really, without Alexander the Great, you wouldn't have Cleopatra. Fun fact. And then we got to talk about the last episode, which was Muhammad Ali, which Julia White played as Muhammad Ali. It was a goat roast. They got the guy who played Babe Ruth. They got Elvis Presley. And who else did they get? It escapes right now. But the one thing about that episode that really intrigued me, outside of the fact that Julia White made for a fantastic Muhammad Ali, is they got John DiMaggio to play Muhammad Ali's trainer, the corner guy. If you don't know who John DiMaggio is, he is an incredible voiceover actor. In fact, I've been watching a lot of his stuff for many years. And you guys know me. I'm a huge fan of voiceover. So, to close out this video, I plan on doing not one, but 2 Mount Rushmores. The first one is of John DiMaggio characters. The second Mount Rushmore I'll get to in a moment. But when it comes to John DiMaggio characters, because I really did give this a lot of thought, by the way, really and truly. But if I'm picking a Mount Rushmore of John DiMaggio characters, I'm going to say Jake the dog from Adventure Time, Dr. Draken from Kim Possible, the Joker from Batman Under the Red Hood. Oh yeah, Mark Hamill isn't the only GOAT Joker, okay? And of course, from Futurama, Bending Rodriguez. Actually, let me do that. Bending Rodriguez. There we go. That's what you gotta do. You gotta roll the R's. Those guys are those are the characters I think about when I think of John DiMaggio the most. So John DiMaggio, on the off chance you're watching this, thank you for being awesome. Now, I mentioned I was going to do 2 Mount Rushmores. Why is that? Because yesterday, or the day before, it was actually Tom Kenny's 60th birthday. Now, if you don't know who Tom Kenny is, he's also been a voiceover actor for many years. I've seen many of his stuff over the years. In fact, since I'm going to be doing his Mount Rushmore momentarily anyway, let's get to the very first character I ever heard him voice, which was Heifer Wolf on Rocko's Modern Life. He was essentially my introduction to the character. He was essentially my introduction to Tom Kenny, which is awesome. And I just spoke of Jake the dog from Adventure Time. Tom Kenny voiced Ice King on Adventure Time. So, of course, I have to put that in there as well. Now, oh, darn, I just forgot who I was going to put game in it. Shoot, I forgot. Because there was one. Here's the thing: the final character I was going to talk about is would technically be considered cheating because it's a group of characters. So I don't want to do that just yet. Let's see. Oh man. Oh, duh. Why? How can I forget probably his most famous character? SpongeBob. Yes, Tom Kenny is the voice of SpongeBob. I can't believe I almost forgot SpongeBob. Man, I hope I don't forget him when I do another list I'll do at some point. But now we get to, for Tom Kenny, it's Ice King, Heiferwolf, SpongeBob, and this last one is technically considered cheating because it's a group of characters, but pretty much any character he plays in a Craig McCracken show, that's the last spot. And it makes sense. For Pop-Up Girls, he was the mayor, and he was the city of Townsville. He was the narrator, right? In Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends, he was Eduardo. Love me some Eduardo. Eduardo was cool. He's like the big, scary-looking guy, but he's really a fraidy cat. Love the contrast. In Wand Over Yonder, he was the Lord Hader's little henchman. Of course, he's hilarious in that. And in Kid Cosmic, he was Chuck, or Stuck Chuck. So he's voiced a lot of characters in Craig. Like seriously, I think Tom Kenny is probably Craig McCracken's go-to guy. Needless to say, Craig McCracken has good taste. So, Historical Gross, watch that show. John DiMaggio and Tom Kenny are awesome voiceover actors. There you go. I hope you all liked this video. If you did, leave a like and subscribe. Find me on social media. And as always, I'm your homie's video for all you guys watching Joe for Name. It'll be a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful Thursday. And remember, if you want to talk to me here, you're always back. Take care and make good choices. And yes, I know this is an episode of Hot Ones today, but I'll talk about that tomorrow. 607 all day, baby.